everyone, welcome back to Minding Everyone's Business. I'm Crystal Jagrup, creator of your favorite jewelry organizer ever. If you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to do so after you watch this video at www.bookofbijou.com. But back to the reason why we're here today, we're doing another small business interview, which I feel like I haven't done in a while, but part of our mission at Book of Bijou is to empower other small businesses around us, especially those that are women-owned. So I'm so grateful to finally be chatting with Michelle TRAHIN today from My Belle Jewelry.
Thank you so much for having me, Crystal. It's so nice to meet you finally.
I know, I'm so excited. We've probably rescheduled 2 or 3 times now, but we're finally getting to chat. So I'm super excited. So Michelle, let's just jump right into it. Why don't you tell us about yourself and about your business a little bit?
Okay, yeah. I'm Michelle TRAHIN. I am the owner of My Belle Jewelry. I'm 29 years old. I was born in Mexico and came to the States when I was 11 years old. And yeah, here I am now. I'm excited to chat with you a little bit more about my brand. So yeah.
So tell us, let's start with the name, My Belle.
Okay.
I know there's a little bit of a story behind that. So why don't you tell us about that?
So funny story, I'm actually Mexican and French. I'm part French on my dad's side of the family. And growing up from my French side of the family, I always used to be called Michelle My Belle. And that's actually a song from the Beatles, and it's a French song. So it just, when I was looking for what to call my brand, I wanted it to relate back to me and back to what I'm about and all of that. So then I thought about that. I'm like, Michelle My Belle. I didn't want it to be my actual name, but I wanted it to relate to something that has to do about me. So then I thought about My Belle, and it just had a nice ring to it. So I'm like, why not?
Do you speak French?
I don't. I wish. I know some words, but I can't really communicate with any of my family and friends. Thankfully, a lot of them speak English, so that helps me out. Yeah.
I love that combo though, Mexican and French. Ooh. I think it's funny that you are actually part French and your name is kind of derived from that. And then my company name obviously has a little French in it, but I am not French. Okay. So I'm outing myself.
See, I didn't even know it had French. Your name had French in it. That's how bad
I am. So tell us about why you got started with jewelry. Was it something that you've always wanted to do?
I didn't know I wanted it to make jewelry a business, but I've always loved jewelry. I grew up with both of my grandmas really loving jewelry, and I watched them and how they accessorized, and that's really how I saw them express themselves. And as I grew up, that's how I express myself too. I don't have the best style in clothing, so I think growing up, jewelry was kind of my way of expressing my style and expressing myself. And it wasn't until this last year that I thought about why not making it a business. And I didn't know it was possible, but here I am now, and I'm really grateful of the way it's turned out and kind of my vision and how it was prior to starting the brand. And I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you look amazing all the time. Anytime I see you doing your lives on IG or anything like that, so you always look fabulous.
Thank
and I
you.
think that's the power of jewelry, right? You can have really plain clothes and you just throw on some jewelry and then it makes you look so put together.
Yes, that's why I love it. The reason why I started it. I like basics. I like to wear basic t-shirts, basic sweaters or whatever, but the way I kind of elevate my outfits is by adding a piece of jewelry.
Yes, love that. I would say I like basics too, but I'm over here in my in my leopard print and my cheetah
I love
print.
it.
So was there a specific turning point you think that kind of lit up that light bulb, let's turn this into a business?
Yeah, actually, I love watching YouTube videos, especially when I'm laying in bed and kind of dozing off and ready to be done for the day. And I was watching a YouTube video and another one kind of popped up in my suggestions. So I clicked on it because it caught my eye. And it was about a woman just like me, about my age, that grew up in Mexico as well and came to the States. And she was talking about how she started her business and how she never thought it was possible because you know, being an immigrant, a lot of doors kind of close on you and you tend to put yourself in this box. And when I was watching her YouTube video, she inspired me a lot in starting my own business. And I started researching it and really thinking like, I can do this just as much as anyone else can. So I turned my love for jewelry into a business and I'm really enjoying it. But the weird thing is it doesn't feel like a business. It doesn't feel like a job because I love doing it. So yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah, it's been more just like feeling like a passion project or something like that. I
Yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah.
Um, were you working at all before you kind of decided to do this?
Yeah, I'm actually still working full time. I'm a commercial insurance broker.
Completely
So
different.
yeah, completely different. Who would have thought that I would be doing this? But that's actually the challenging part of just kind of balancing my full-time job and now my business. But I'm, the reason why I started it when I started it was because thankfully I've been working from home since the pandemic started. So I kind of had a little bit more time to dedicate to a business while I'm working from home than I would if I was going into an office physically. So I'm grateful in that sense for the pandemic and, having to be able to start this business. But yeah, it's been
Yeah,
great.
there's a lot of great things that you just said that I want to come back to. But
Mhm.
I want to know, did you before, when you were younger or, a few years ago, did you always kind of like imagine yourself having some kind of business one day?
I did imagine myself having some sort of business because I grew up with watching my parents kind of be on their own. My mom had a shoe store when I was younger, so she had a little boutique, and I saw her doing that. Then my dad, when he was younger, he had a gym in Mexico, and then from that he went to restaurants, and they've always been entrepreneurs. So I think seeing that growing up kind of made me want to do that on my own as well. I just didn't think that I would actually do it because I'm more of like I'm a go-getter, yes, but I'm really scared. So when doing certain things like that, I'm scared of failing, so I don't really jump into things, and this is the only time that I feel like I literally jumped into something and it's been great. So yeah.
I totally forgot what I was going to say just now. Oh my God, I totally blanked. Okay, well, let's go back while trying to remember what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Let's go back to the whole like juggling the whole 9 to 5 and
Mhm.
starting your business. Like what are your like best tips and tricks to juggle that time? Because I know for me also, I'm still working full time at my 9 to 5. And then
Yeah.
I just launched our business. Then I have 2 crazy kids at home. So yeah, it's a lot. So what are
Yeah.
your best practices for really like balancing your
Whew. I'm still learning, to be honest. I struggle with it every day. I share it on my social media. I'm very open about that because I think that when running a business, there's a lot that goes on behind closed doors that people don't know. They're just seeing like, why aren't you getting to my order quick enough or things like that. But I do believe in forming a real connection with your customers and people who are following you on social media because that's the way you're growing your brand. Um, but in balancing all of that, I think I tried to tell myself, okay, I have a full-time job from 7:30 to 4:30. I'm going to dedicate my full attention to that. 7:30 to 4:30. On my breaks, I will go ahead and dedicate a little bit of my time to my business. And then once I'm off the clock at 4:30, then I'm all about my business. I make sure that I put my full attention to that. And also trying to find time to kind of relax and not work because it starts to become just difficult to manage. And being behind a computer all day, every day gets exhausting. So I'm still trying to figure out how to balance it all. But I think managing my time and having a calendar, writing things down has been the most helpful to me. So
I
yeah.
was going to ask if you're an actual like an organizer, write it down, everything like that.
Yes, I like to have like physically write down things in order for me to just remember and have something to look back on. My phone is great, but honestly, I'm on my phone all day, every day. least thing that I want to do is go into my phone to see, okay, what do I have to do today, or to remind myself. I kind of want to not rely on my phone so much and have something physical to look back to.
I agree with that actually. So I feel like a lot of times I do take notes on my phone too, but then you're so right. Like I'm always on my phone too, like on Instagram or whatever. And then being able to just actually have like your planner and then put your phone away and writing things down, I feel like for me at least, it does help me like focus and kind of
Right.
just shut everything out, right?
It does the same to me, because if I'm on my phone, even though I'm on calendar, I get a notification and I'm so tempted to like click on it, and then I just start spiraling down into another direction, and I'm not really focusing on what I went to my phone in the first place. So
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm the same way. And I remembered what I was going to say. I was going to say that your parents must have been really excited when you told them that you were going to start your own business.
they were so excited, and they were a little bit nervous for me because they saw how nervous I was, but honestly, they encouraged me to do it. And they are automatically the people who push me to do it and to start. So I'm really grateful for them too.
Are they pretty involved with the kind of day-to-day operations of your business?
Yes, I do everything myself. Right now I'm living in California, and my parents are actually living in Texas. They moved there about 3 months ago, but they call me every single day to check up on me and see if I need any help. But ultimately I'm the one who does everything. My mom is very hands-on too with me. Like she tries to help me on the stuff I don't want to do, such as the inventory and keeping track of my expenses and all that stuff, the fun stuff that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
she, she helps me out with that a lot. So
Do you have any other family nearby you? That's hard. That must be hard. I couldn't
right now
imagine.
I only have friends nearby, that, family, they're all over the place. They're out of California now. I do have some family in California and San Diego, but they're not that close to me. But just friends here for now.
Yeah. And do your friends help out with the business also?
My friends help out whenever I have a question or like I need their opinion on something. I definitely reach out to them and they help me out in that sense. And they're very supportive. So I'm
Do
grateful.
any of them also have their own business and kind of have experience in the field?
I do have a couple of distance friends that have small businesses. I don't really talk to them that often, but they understand. A lot of them support already small businesses even before I started my brand. So they understand how important it is to support small businesses. So when I started mine, they were all for it. So
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you still have, that support system, especially like this is your first business. So, I mean, having that is so critical, I feel like. But I mean, of
yeah,
course, there's always Google if you don't know how to do anything.
right.
So tell
And
us about,
actually, that because I'm sorry to cut you
no, go
off,
ahead.
but because of the pandemic, and when I started in January, I really wasn't going out and doing my research in person. I started doing my research by watching YouTube videos, going on Google and all of that. And I think that that's what really got me to be like, okay, if I can do this all online and I'm researching and finding all this information out in the comfort of my own home, then why not? I'm not doing this in person because I physically can't right now. But there's so much information out there on YouTube and on Google and whatnot that can help someone out. Unfortunately, I didn't know any small business owner before starting my brand, so I couldn't really ask for opinions of someone who had a small business. But I did find a lot of information on YouTube and on Google.
So do you have like a YouTube account and all of that for your business as well? Or are you
I
just
don't know.
on Instagram?
I'm just on Instagram right now. YouTube scares me a little bit. I was thinking to start maybe a YouTube channel to just help other small business owners. I don't know much, but what I do know, I would love to share. But for right now, I'm just keeping it on Instagram.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm trying to do with these small business interviews. I'm I'm still, very new in our business, but I feel like doing these interviews with people like you, it not only kind of gives like the customers a little behind the scenes of your brand and getting to know you, but also it just is inspiration for other people wanting to start, especially because it can be like intimidating, right? Seeing
Yeah.
someone that's already 10 years into their business and making millions of dollars. And it's like, how do I get from here at nothing at point A to where they're at? So I feel like us making these videos, and I definitely want to start doing like a lot of behind the scenes videos also, is kind of just more relatable because whoever wants to start a new business, they're also in kind of in that same spot in their
Mhm.
path to starting a business.
Yeah, and I think it's honestly a really great idea. That's the kind of videos that I would go to when I was researching stuff. It was of small business owners kind of showing us how to do the behind the scenes stuff, or where to even start when you're starting a small business. And that's what helped me a lot. So I think what you're doing is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about, how you're navigating the whole digital world, especially starting, in the middle of a pandemic?
In like what sense? Like how I'm
Like, do
handling
you
my
feel like it's easy for you to kind of keep up with Instagram, especially with like the constant algorithm changes and
Mhm.
having to be like more video forward and all of that?
So I kind of go back and forth with social media. I kind of have a love and hate relationship. My brain obviously depends on it. So I spend a lot of my time doing that. And, Instagram, I get frustrated sometimes because I will post a really nice picture, or I will promote a picture of, my products or whatnot. And I expect it to do better than it does. But, that's kind of what Instagram is, and their algorithm, I don't understand it sometimes. Who does? But
Yeah, I don't think anyone does.
yeah. But I do try and tell myself, like, don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing great, and remind myself that I'm not the only one in this position and I'm trying my best. And I think with social media, it can get a little bit challenging because you start to compare yourself with other small business owners or businesses that are doing this exact same thing as you are. And I think unplugging sometimes is really great, and I try and do that. I go MIA for a day, and it's really great for my mental health, and I try and do that every once in a while just to kind of recharge my batteries and be like, okay, I can do this again, I'm good, because it gets mentally exhausting too.
Yeah, it's good to hear that you're very self-aware. I was
Mhm.
actually listening to a podcast yesterday, it might have been yesterday or the day before. And the guest speaker was talking about how a lot of people preach self-love and they say, like, I love myself, I'm worthy, but then their actions don't actually follow through with that, right?
Mhm.
And they say, like, I love myself and I want to take care of myself, I'm worthy, but then they just don't ever stop working, and they
Mhm.
don't ever give themselves the time to take a break, to step away, and to kind of just, restart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But honestly, I think I learned to be, I guess, self-aware in a way, but also I have a really good support system that will remind me, hey, Michelle, you seem a little bit stressed right now. Why don't you take a step back and relax, maybe do something fun, don't work today, or whatever it is, whether it's my friends or other small business owners that I've met along the way, which I'm so grateful for because they're going through the same thing. So sometimes when I'm having a hard time and I post something on social media, on my Instagram account, that says like, I was sick last week and I wasn't able to attend one of the pop-up events. And I got a message from one of my friends who is a small business owner, and she's like, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. It's okay if you miss this pop-up event. It's okay. Rest all day today, and next weekend get back at it. And I'm so grateful for that because I need those reminders. I'm really hard on myself, and I want to work because obviously I want to grow my brand and I want to be the best that I can be. But sometimes I do need to take a step back and just recharge.
That's awesome. So I want to hear more about these pop-up events. Was that kind of always your strategy to start doing those?
Not at all. I thought this was going to be purely all online, and that's how I was going to grow my brand. I didn't even know that I could do pop-up events. I started following other small business owners, and I started seeing that they did all these pop-ups around the area, and I'm like, why don't I try it? You know, it's a great way for me to meet my customers in person and for them to see the jewelry and wear it and get to really try it on and see what they would look like in them.
Mhm.
And I remember back in May, so I started my business in January, and then in May, I saw one of the pop-up hosts that they were about to host one. So I applied and I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. I applied and I got in. So I'm like, great, let's start prepping. And it was like weeks of prepping for it. And my sister at the time, I have a twin sister. So my sister at the time was helping me like get all the stuff for it, the tables, the canopy, all the stuff that you need for a pop-up event. So then ever since I did my first one, I had such a good experience with it that I just have been doing them ever since. And I honestly don't want to stop doing them. It's my favorite part about owning the brand right now, meeting people in person and just getting to chat with them and seeing them wear the jewelry. It's my favorite.
I was going to ask if you kind of started to feel like a little tired from doing them, because I feel like you're doing them pretty often, maybe every week, every other week.
I'm doing them every weekend right now. And sometimes I'm doing them Saturdays and Sundays. So I used to, when I started, I did it only maybe once or twice a month. And I would only do it on Saturdays or Sundays. I would never do both days because they're really exhausting, especially now that I'm doing them on my own. They're really tiring doing all that, but they're so rewarding too. So I make sure that I did kind of slow down a little bit. And then I got messages like, hey, are you going to be at this pop-up? Or when are you going to do your next pop-up? And I'm like, wait, like, this is what my customers like. So ultimately, this is what my why I started my brand and why the growth of my brand has been so consistent. And if they're asking for it, then I need to do it for them. And honestly, I enjoy doing them. I think the part that I don't enjoy is setting up and then taking everything down. But when I'm there for those 4 or 5 hours, I'm really enjoying myself. So that's why I continue to do them.
And their energy of, you know,
Oh my,
your clients that come in, that really re-energizes you, right? I totally.
yes, completely. And it reminds me of like why I'm doing it. I go home at the end of the day and I'm like, I'm so tired, but I'm so happy. Like it was so rewarding, you know.
Yeah, I've been there before. I used to be a jewelry stylist, so I would do like pop-ups and trunk shows and things like that. So yeah, the actual process of like dragging everything over and setting up is a
And
pain.
in the heat, oh my God, it's been so hot lately. So you're sitting out there in 95-degree weather, melting.
Uh,
But you know, at
yeah,
the end of the day, it's all good.
yeah. So would you contribute most of your growth to the pop-up events?
Yeah, I think so, to be honest. It's been really good for me to get exposure in the LA area, but I've also been in the OC area. So I've gotten customers from really all over the place. And I think that it has a lot to do with doing the pop-ups. People just really love meeting who's behind the brand and um kind of building a relationship because you want to be sure that they can trust you at the end of the day and trust where they're getting their product from. So I think people enjoy that. And by doing that, they're more likely to um, refer your business to a friend. And it kind of just, goes from there. So I think I owe a lot of my growth to these pop-ups for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, because I feel like they get to know you on a much more personal level than just seeing you on
Yes.
Instagram, right?
Yeah, and that's what I want. Ultimately, my brand is always going to be more online focused, because that's where I have my website. That's where people can shop more easily than these pop-ups. But I do enjoy doing them. So
Yeah. So, what have been your biggest challenges so far? I mean, you started in January, so it's been 9 months, just
yeah,
about. So, what do you think have been the hardest things for you in starting this business?
I think just challenges within myself more. I'm very hard on myself, like I said, and I think I get caught up in what other people are doing or what I should be doing or all that. But I just kind of have to remind myself every time to stay true to who I am, true to what my brand is about, and remind myself that it's okay that I'm not doing what the other girl is doing, or I, could be doing things better, and just, kind of just reminding myself that I'm doing just okay and what I'm doing and just to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Okay, now let's talk about like your highest highs and your lowest lows. Can you tell us about like any really memorable moments in this business in this past 9 months that you've had?
Yeah, my highest highs, I would say I'm still living it, to be honest. Like every time I get an order, I'm so grateful for it and I'm just so happy. Um, so have I hit like a high? I think that I've set goals for myself and I've hit a lot of them. So I have a lot of highs because I'm just grateful for the entire journey ever since I started my business. My lowest lows, I don't know. I think so far I've had a really good experience and a really good journey. So I think my lowest lows would just be, you know, I think balancing everything, balancing my personal life, balancing my full-time job, and then now balancing my business. That's what I would say.
Yeah, which is probably just going to continue for a while.
It
But I
will,
wouldn't
yeah,
consider that. I wouldn't consider that your low. I think that just comes with
true.
small business.
Yeah.
Okay, so lastly, why don't you tell us about your vision for the future of My Belle Jewelry?
Yeah, so I really have been thinking about this a lot, and I think that I want to either have my jewelry at a boutique or have my own storefront. That would be a dream. I think that's a long ways from now, but I think that's, my vision in 5, 10 years. I would really like to grow this brand and be somewhere internationally, but I think, starting with a storefront here in LA would be a dream.
Where would you go first internationally?
I think Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my for sure.
Your parents would be so excited. That's
I
awesome.
know. I've been talking to a lot of my family from Mexico and I told them like what would be the best area to do it in, and they're excited for me. So they're like, whatever you need help with, we can go and check out places for you. So that's something that I really want to do. Honestly, I think I may do the storefront in Mexico before I even do LA. So,
I support you. You should do it and go with your
yeah.
heart. But I 100% have faith in you, and I am wishing
Thank
you
you.
all of the success in the world.
Thank you.
So thank you again so much, Michelle, for joining us today. If you guys want to check out her jewelry, do so at mybellejewelry.com. Make sure you're following the both of us on Instagram, My Belle Jewelry and Book of Bijou, or if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. And thank you, Michelle. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me, Crystal. It was so nice to meet you and so much fun to chat.
Yeah, thank you. All
Thank you.
right, bye everyone.